Have you ever stopped to think if you're truly prepared or simply going through the motions? What if the key to unlocking the rapture sequence wasn't hidden in a prophecy chart, but tucked inside a single, overlooked detail in Jesus' own words? Not a complicated mystery, but a subtle phrase that quietly separates those who are spiritually awake from those who are asleep. And the most unsettling truth, this moment may already be unfolding around you. The title of this message is not an exaggeration. This one detail in Jesus' words unlocks the rapture sequence. Just one detail. It might seem small in the passage, but its implications are enormous. A detail capable of unraveling long-held assumptions about how the end will happen. While most people are waiting to hear trumpets in the sky, they're missing the cry that has already begun within. And those who keep waiting for a spectacle may be the very ones left behind in the silence. What you're about to discover is the exact sequence Jesus laid out, not through diagrams or doctrine, but through everyday images and words so simple they're often dismissed. Night, sleep, cry, separation. These aren't just metaphors, they're prophetic milestones hidden in plain sight. And the most urgent part? This sequence isn't something to watch for in the distant future. It's something already in motion. So now the question isn't if the signs will come. The question is, will you recognize them when they do? Because in the spiritual night that's already fallen over this world, only those who are truly awake will hear the cry in time and understand what it really means to be ready. Many people rush to the books of Revelation, Daniel, and even prophetic charts in search of the end-time sequence. But the curious thing is, Jesus didn't hide the secret of the rapture's timeline in something technical or mystical. He revealed it through a simple, everyday image that anyone can recognize. Two people lying in bed. The gospel, at times, reveals itself more through ordinary words than eloquent sermons. The key was right there, on an ordinary night, in a phrase we often skip over because we chase the extraordinary and ignore the ordinary. Luke 17:34-36 carries prophetic weight that's often overlooked. That night, just that expression should stop the reader. Not in the day, nor when everything collapses, but at night. And not just any night, that night. This choice of words shows that the coming separation won't happen amid chaos, but in comfort. While many are expecting thunder and earthquakes, Jesus points to a time when everything seems normal. As if he's saying, God's extraordinary move comes in the silence of routine. Jesus always used familiar images to hide eternal truths: seeds, fish, vineyards, bread. He knew that a discerning heart would see beyond the metaphor. The same happens here. Two will be in one bed, one will be taken. This isn't about who wakes up early, it's about discernment. Those who live attuned to spiritual signs, even in the most mundane routines, understand that the end doesn't begin with noise, but with a subtle inner shift. And it's exactly in that seemingly insignificant detail that everything changes. While some are waiting for the skies to open with lightning, the more attentive have already heard the whispers announcing the prophetic night. And it's curious, why would Jesus use such a common, intimate, routine scene to reveal something so sacred? That question opens a deeper trail, one that leads us right into the moment where the separation truly begins. When Jesus said that night, he wasn't choosing words randomly. Every syllable has a purpose, and this one in particular completely shifts how we should prepare. Most people think the rapture will be a loud event, with skies splitting open and crowds panicking. But Jesus says it will happen at night. In other words, while the world sleeps, spiritually speaking, the separation begins. It's like a surgical cut made in silence, without fanfare, while most don't even realize what's happening around them. In biblical language, night often symbolizes spiritual darkness, lack of discernment, distraction. Look around. Aren't we already living in that night? A time when everything appears normal, but something is clearly off. Constant news of wars, inverted values, coldness in love. It feels like we're deep in a spiritual slumber. And in that very setting, the Master chooses to act. He won't come in the noise of day, but in the silence of night, when few are alert, when everything seems too calm. This detail changes everything. If the separation doesn't begin with sound, but with sleep, then the greatest risk isn't not hearing the trumpet, but being asleep inside. How many people do you know who go through the motions of faith like spiritual robots? They attend church, read the Bible out of habit, but they're not truly watchful. It's like sleeping with their eyes open. The spiritual night has already arrived, but many still think the spectacle will come before the call. Now, if Jesus pointed to the night as the starting point, then we must learn to read the signs of the dark. That's where true watchmen stand out. They realize that what seemed like just another day might actually be that night. And if this separation begins in silence, almost imperceptibly, then what comes before it? Perhaps something only the alert can sense. Something like a cry hidden in the shadows. Matthew 25:6 gives us one of the most powerful and least discussed images in all of end times prophecy. At midnight, there was a cry, "Here comes the bridegroom." Here, Jesus isn't talking about a thunderclap or a heavenly trumpet just yet. He speaks of a cry, a warning that comes before everything else, made in the middle of the darkness. It's as if God gives a final silent alert to those who still have ears to hear. The most curious part, this cry doesn't wake everyone up. Only those already somewhat prepared are able to recognize it. This cry is the spiritual awakening that precedes the great movement. It's not broadcasted from pulpits, and it doesn't go viral on social media. It echoes in the spirit. It's that restlessness that many have been feeling lately. A sensation that something is about to happen, but no one can quite explain it. Have you noticed how many people feel like life has lost its flavor? That might be the cry, not to scare you, but to wake you up. Midnight, symbolically, is the darkest point of the night, when it seems like nothing is going to change, when everything feels still. But that's exactly when heaven moves. The pattern becomes clear. Night, call, separation, door shut. The cry happens while there's still time to rise and refill your oil. But the time is short. It's like the final boarding call at the airport. If you don't hear it, you don't get on. And once the door closes, there's no forcing your way in. And now that we understand the cry comes before the movement, the next question becomes inevitable. How do you know if that call has already begun? And if it has, how does it affect our daily lives? The next detail Jesus reveals shows exactly what happens after the cry, and why so many, even after hearing it, still don't respond. The phrase "one will be taken, the other left" is as well known as it is misunderstood. Most people hear this and imagine a grand apocalyptic event, with lights in the sky and people vanishing in cinematic fashion. But that's not how Jesus described it. He spoke of two people side by side, in the middle of everyday life, one going, the other staying. No alarms, no crowds screaming, no fire raining down. Just a cut, almost silent, but final. and that has far more serious implications than most realize. What Jesus shows us here is a type of separation that happens without external warning. The taken doesn't announce it, the left doesn't realize it. It's as if the division between them already existed before it manifested. One was already prepared on the inside, the other distracted. It's the picture of many couples, friends, co-workers, living together but spiritually in different worlds. The rupture doesn't start with an event. It starts with a difference in priorities that was already there. This kind of cut is deeper because it's invisible, and that shatters the whole idea that the rapture will be something only noticeable from the outside. In reality, it's just the outward revelation of something that had already been settled within. And this should make us reflect. Who are we walking with? What kind of environment are we cultivating? You could be surrounded by people, yet still be the only one spiritually awake in that room. And if this separation is so silent, so internal, so personal, what happens next? What determines who is taken and who is left? The key isn't in the spectacle, but in the sequence. And Jesus revealed that order with a clarity only seen by those who are paying attention to the details. The next part of this message opens that map, and it's simpler and more urgent than it seems. The sequence Jesus described is subtle, yet as precise as a divine clock. First comes the night, a time when everything seems normal, maybe even too calm. Then the cry, not a deafening trumpet, but a spiritual call, almost imperceptible, heard only by the watchful. And finally, the separation happens. It's not random or chaotic. It follows a divine order that prioritizes discernment before action. This progression cannot be ignored by anyone who desires to be among the taken. It's like catching a train. If you don't hear the boarding call, running after it once it's gone won't help. Notice that Jesus builds this sequence using ordinary life, as if to say, "My coming won't be in the world's noise, but in the soul's silence." The night represents this world, numb from distractions, from empty pursuits and pointless routines. And in this setting, God whispers. The spiritual cry is that restlessness many have been feeling, a discomfort, a void, a sense of urgency. It's no surprise that so many are seeking answers outside traditional religious structures. The cry has already begun, and many still don't realize it's time to fill their lamps with oil. After the cry comes the separation, and it is irreversible. Those with oil go, those without stay. Simple as that. There's no room for last-minute improvisation. It's like Noah's Ark. When God shuts the door, no one else enters. This image is strong, but necessary, because Jesus wasn't just telling a nice story. He was revealing a spiritual timeline. And the most striking detail is that this timeline is unfolding right now, in front of our eyes, while many are still waiting for bigger signs. But those with eyes to see already understand. The night has come, the cry is echoing. And perhaps the most shocking point is this. Jesus didn't emphasize who would be taken, but when. This shows the rapture isn't about titles, positions, or religious labels. It's about readiness. The separation happens on God's timing, not ours. Those waiting for a loud signal will be disappointed. Those listening for the whisper will be prepared. And now that this sequence is unveiled, the inevitable question arises, what do we do with this information? How do we adjust our daily preparation in light of such an urgent revelation? Knowing that it all begins at night completely shifts the logic of spiritual preparation. If the rapture won't come at the height of chaos, but in the silence of routine, then waiting for dramatic signs is a trap. Jesus made it clear. Those who watch beforehand go in. Those who wait for the spectacle are left behind. Preparation isn't an event, it's a lifestyle. And living prepared doesn't mean living in panic, but in discernment. It's waking up each day, knowing the spiritual night has already begun, and the cry might be echoing amid your most ordinary tasks. Watchfulness, in this context, is more about inward attention than outward action. Think about it. If heaven is looking for watchmen, then your faith has to be more than reactive. There's no use turning on your lamp only when darkness becomes visible. It's like carrying a flashlight that only works after you're already lost. Too late. Jesus said, "The wise virgins had oil in reserve." That means preparation requires consistency, even when nothing seems to be happening. And what is this oil today? It's your communion with God, your time reading the Word, your moments of fasting, your practice of forgiveness. The oil is everything that strengthens your spirit in secret. Routine can be the greatest enemy of spiritual preparation if it's lived on autopilot. Many think, when I see clear signs, then I'll change. But Jesus said everything happens while people are sleeping, eating, marrying, in other words, living normally. This shows that true preparation doesn't begin when heaven gives an explicit warning, but when the heart hears a subtle call. Start by waking up earlier to pray. Disconnect for a moment from the noise of social media to hear God's voice. Trade an episode of a show for a chapter of the Gospels. Don't wait for the perfect time. Start in the night. This detail, ignored by so many, reveals what God expects to find when He comes for His own. Watchfulness. Not performance, not spiritual fame, but a heart that's awake in the middle of the night. And if the night has already begun, then the time to wake up is now. Because the difference between being taken or left behind might lie in a quiet decision made today. And now that all of this is clearer, the great question remains. Have you noticed the signs of this prophetic night? Or are you still waiting for heaven to shout louder? Jesus never hid the truth. He disguised it in the details because He knew only the watchful would see. Now that you've understood the rapture sequence revealed by Him, the question that echoes isn't when He will come, but in what state He will find you when He does. Because what defines who will be taken isn't a last-minute emotion, but vigilance cultivated in the silence of the present moment. Are you discerning the signs of the spiritual night? Or are you still waiting for a visible trumpet while ignoring the inner cry? Routine can be a trap if it numbs your faith. That's why preparation needs to be daily, alive, and real. Start today. Set aside intentional time to pray. Unplug from pointless noise. Dive into Jesus' words like someone searching for treasure. The oil of vigilance is added drop by drop, because in the end, the difference between being taken or left behind might lie in that one detail almost everyone overlooks. And now that you know it, what will you do with it? Will you wait for another sign or begin your preparation today? If this message awakened you, share it with someone you love. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Here, you'll keep learning the hidden truths of the Word with depth and clarity. And tell me in the comments, have you already heard that spiritual cry?